computer, because then we have access for longer.
Sure.
So awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, talking about nutrition for sleep, but that title doesn't do it justice. I welcome my dear friend, Lori Preshing. So thank you, Lori, for joining. Lori has got such a wonderful background. If you had a chance to look at her bio before today. And then also, if you see these wonderful meditation cushions in the background behind Lori too, she has taken on with her sons this amazing new journey, making these meditation cushions too, out of, yes, the surrender experiment that she's following, much like myself, right? It's hard to say no to something when this happens. So Lori, we thank you so much for taking the time today, and would love to turn it over to you. And then if people have questions as we go along, absolutely ask the questions either in the chat, or if you want to take yourself off of mute.
Oh, by all means, jump in anytime. I so miss the energy of people and that whole live interaction. So this is the next best thing. So yeah, jump in anytime. So yeah, what a journey I've been on. My two boys are my guiding light starting from 15 years ago, and they're multiple food allergies. And we are the first generation in our family to have food allergies, and everyone thought it was nuts. And I kept saying, it's the food they're reacting to. Here I am 15 years later giving lectures and helping families out with nutrition and things like that. And yes, I started teaching yoga and meditation and making meditation cushions. And like Renee said, it's just part of surrender to the journey. It's phenomenal, the people that have been brought into my life. So jumping right into the sleep lecture. That's my first biggest confession. Anyone who knows me, I have been a chronic insomniac since the boys were born, pretty much. And I did not really know all the role that hormones played into sleep. So, oh my gosh, my son is like 19 years now. Yeah, 19 years of struggling with sleep, even more so in menopause, so much that I've done all the research and I've done everything you could possibly think of to improve sleep and then to help ease that passage into the change of life. Because my gosh, women, we're kind of like, we get the brunt. The hormones, right? The hormones, your life will change, the childbearing, the child rearing, and then the change of life cycle. Your eating changes, your body changes, and those hormones. And again, in my research, that little line that I read in a book, you need estrogen to make melatonin. What? So as you go into menopause, this is why you struggle with sleep and metabolism and hot flashes. So pretty much from there, like the first thing I always talk about is that hormones dictate everything in your body, like everything. So you're hungry, that's leptin hormone. You're happy, that's serotonin hormone. You are sleepy, that's melatonin, which we're going to talk a lot about. And you're wide awake and you're going and you're busy for the day, that's cortisol. That's your stress hormone, and that comes from your adrenal glands. So we're going to talk a lot about cortisol and melatonin. But yeah, both of these hormones pretty much dictate your whole sleep and wake cycles. And again, it's such a fine symphony of the body that you need, like metabolism and organs and glands for producing the melatonin that you need for your sleep cycle. So we're going to dive right into the presentation. Let me do screen share. And there it is. Yeah. I still like this. Here we go. I learned that Canva, does that work? You see the slides? Okay.
Looks
Canva,
good.
you can do presentations. So you don't need that PowerPoint chugging in the background. You can do everything in Canva as well as the slides. So I'm kind of liking it a lot. Okay, so this is my most favorite slide that I start with, and we're going to dive right into talking about those two hormones. Okay, so what you need to know is the biggest tip of all is that the body cannot produce melatonin and cortisol at the same time. It just can't. So this is why when you're really, really stressed out, you can't sleep because the cortisol is going through your body and it can't, and it's pretty much suppressing the melatonin production. So knowing that, I've studied all the things that you can do to boost your melatonin production as you come into the night. And this is the biggest one, is to study. Everybody knows that circadian rhythm, we are creatures of the sun and the moon really affects us much more than we think. But yeah, we follow the sun. And this is why, like, some clients that have come to me over time that do the night shift, you're literally reversing the natural body cycle. And gosh, it's so hard on the body. So if you follow this little graph, the black line is the cortisol you see at 9 a.m. So starting from 6 a.m. to 9, you're starting to wake up and come out of melatonin. That's when your cortisol is going to peak. The sun is rising. You want to open the curtains, expose your eyes, expose your body to sunlight as much as you can, because that also reinforces this cortisol. Just wake up. And then I always like to point out at 3 o'clock, how everybody has that little dip in energy and they reach for that, chocolate bar or muffin or donut. That's when cortisol also takes another little dip. So it's starting to decline all day, and 3 p.m. it dips, and then 6 p.m. it dips again. So 6 p.m. is kind of like that magic hour. So if you see 6 p.m. cortisol really dives, and then melatonin starts to be produced. So there are things that you can do at home starting at 6 p.m. to boost your melatonin production, to get you, falling asleep easier, staying asleep longer. Because yeah, I've struggled with all those things, taking hours to fall asleep, night waking, staying up for hours at night. But yeah, so you want to wake up with the sun, get as much sun as you can on your face. Yeah, before noon, I'm sure everyone does that. You open the screens, maybe step out on the porch, get a breath of fresh air at this time. And then on the other side of the spectrum at 6 p.m., you want to now start keeping things dimmer at home. You want to turn off those fluorescent lights or those brighter lights, maybe just put on, a lamp. Um, and yes, watching the screen time. We're going to get into screens as well, because studies are now starting to show us that that blue light on your screen, when you're looking at the screen, is hitting your eye, it's going to your pineal gland, and it's still stimulating cortisol. Basically, your brain is still thinking, oh, the sun is still shining, I better keep producing cortisol. So screen time starting to be later at night, especially after 6 p.m., you are still keeping your cortisol productions going. So there's things that you can do. You can have cut off screen time. This is what we do in my house. I'm very firm at this. I mean, when the boys had iPads when they were younger, I noticed that they would take them a long time to unwind after video games. And again, the studies are now showing that it's stimulating our brain in ways that we don't fully understand, and it takes a while to calm it down. So my boys are teens. I still have cut off for screen time. All devices are in the study on the charger. That's it. No electronics in the bedroom. And if you like, some people like to use their iPad to read. There are apps that you can get now that filter that blue light. All you have to do is blue light filter, and I think it's time delayed. So starting at 6 p.m., what happens is you're going to get a different filter that filters out automatically on your screen and reduces that exposure of blue light. So, the body can still unwind, and your brain can stop producing that cortisol. So on that note, that's what I just said, is think about that. Think about your bedtime routine as it exists now. And because we're at home all this time, we can pay attention to it. We can make changes. We can try things and experiment and see how it goes. So I always say this too, before we went into the shutdown, like literally timing, my husband called, we have Wi-Fi in the house. I'm sure a lot of folks still have Wi-Fi. And again, that's EMFs, right? Everyone knows EMFs, electromagnetic frequency. They're starting to show that disrupts melatonin production in people who are sensitive. So in my household, we're sensitive. So my husband called and he got a stronger router right before we went into shutdown. And I'm very conscious of the fact that we're in the house 24/7 with this really strong router. It's great for Wi-Fi, but not that great for us. So yeah, I installed a rule. I'm like, okay, the Wi-Fi router gets shut off at night. We don't need it. It doesn't need to produce all these frequencies overnight. You can just turn it off. So that's another thing that you can look at. It's funny now because I work with a lot of people with food allergies, sensitivities, multiple chemical sensitivities, and even just this little tip, you don't think, right? We don't feel it, we don't see it, we don't smell it. This little tip can help greatly. Like my mother is very, very sensitive to screens, to chemicals. Yeah. So she has taught me a lot, and I've researched it a lot, and I just give those tips to clients. So challenge yourself. Look at do an audit of your household. Where are your electronics? Do you have electronics in the bedroom? Do you have a screen in the bedroom? Maybe try and move things around. All our electronics are downstairs. And like I said, we turn off the router at night. I have a time like a couple of hours before bed, 2 hours before bed. Stop with the electronics. We go to music or read a book or play a board game. Anything just to kind of unwind from the day and maybe just reduce or balance out your screen time. I'm always saying that to the guys. Oh yeah, and then I get to the quote. Yes. I found this quote in my studies and I just had to include it because yeah, people are not understanding how EMFs are starting to just interfere or suppress the melatonin production. So more and more people, and again, now they're at home, and I'm sure that majority of people have Wi-Fi. They're not maybe understanding this. So I just say, starting as a tip, start doing some reading, maybe just try it out yourself. But yeah, okay. This one fascinated me. We learned this at school. And you can find this image just, on Google if you look up Chinese body clock. But what's fascinating, I like to point out about this is that each hour of the day, there's a dedicated time where one of your organs is doing its thing. So like paying attention to the time on this. And again, I work with so many clients who say, you know what, between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, that's when I wake up and I can't get back to sleep. Like, why is it always that same time? So when they showed us this at school, because that was me, I always would wake up at 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. on the dot. And I kept saying, I'm sure there's a reason. Like, I know that there's a reason. So if you look between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., it's the liver. So what's happening is that your liver is starting to become burdened. And when it's doing its thing between those hours, it's struggling. And so much so that it's waking you up and it's disrupting things. So that's what's happening. And we're going to start talking about detox and some of the things you can do to help unburden your liver. But yeah, and it's also my husband that pointed out to me when I would go get my hair done, I go to the hair salon and I'd come back. So instead of waking up, at my usual time, or again, depending on where we were with the moon, I would always wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't go back to sleep. And I'd go downstairs and start reading. And he's like, are you up at 4 again? Yeah. He pointed out, he went to the hair salon that day. So when I looked back at this slide, that's the lungs. So that's the time when the lungs are doing their thing. So I'm thinking, yeah, every time I go to the hair salon, like someone beside me is getting their hair dyed. And all those fumes, I'm bringing them in for the whole hour. And that's what bothers me for the night. So I'm like, so I learned how to detox myself the days that I would go to the salon, so I didn't wake up at that time, if that makes sense. But I find this all so fascinating, looking at the times that your organs are doing their thing, and looking at, again, between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m., that's when your colon is doing its thing. And that's usually the time it's like, why do I have to go first thing in the morning? It's because your body is done all this detox and elimination overnight, and your colon is now going, okay, we're ready to eliminate. Wake up, go to the bathroom. I just find it fascinating. Okay, so getting into the stuff that you can do at home now at this time is create a routine. I think that the term is now sleep hygiene. I've seen this term. But basically, all it is your body has motor memory. So if you do the same thing at the same time of day, your body remembers and it goes, oh, okay, yeah, we know what's coming next. So say, for example, like the time that you have supper, the time that you go for maybe your walk around the block or something to digest, the time that you start turning off the lights, the time that you're, okay, cut off the screen, I go read in bed, and your body knows what's happening. So usually, like me, by 9 o'clock, I'm done. And I'm in bed and I'm reading for the day. And I'm like, my body then knows what's coming next because I'm doing the same thing every time, each night. Especially for children. we found this out at a young age too. My kids did much, much better when we had a routine and we stuck to, bath time, reading a book, quiet, music, bed, talk, tell stories. It's comforting to know what's coming next, right? And I remember my son would be like, yeah, but I want to stay up late. And I'd be like, yeah, but you know what? Like the schedule says, 7 o'clock at night we should be reading, so we got to read. And they are never argued that back. So yeah, no, it just helps the body know what's coming next. Then we get into movement. So the thing that I always talk about with this is that everybody knows that exercise and movement is very good for circulating the blood, circulating the oxygen, good for the muscles, good for the arteries. But what's not so discussed is that you have what we call as the lymph system. And that is a whole other series of capillaries and arteries that run through the body with a clear fluid called lymph. And this literally is like right under your skin. So alongside all your blood veins and arteries, you have this lymph system. And basically what this is we call it the sewer system of the body. So everything that you are exposed to, you go outside, you breathe in pollution, exhaust fumes, pesticides you eat, maybe like the floor was just redone and you're smelling in varnish or new car, everything that you're exposed to during the day, your body has to detox, right? And they dump it in this lymph system. And then the lymph system moves it to either the top of the skin for sweat. This is how you detox through sweat, right? They call the skin the largest organ of detox in the body. So you either sweat it out or you eliminate, right? Urine and bowels. So your body is always processing things. What's a nutrient? What can we take in? And then what's a toxin and what do we need to detox? So this lymph system. So this lymph system doesn't have a heart, right? So the only way that it can move is literally when you move. So that's why swimming is like one of the best exercises, yoga. One of the things that, like, when you move your arms and then your legs, you're literally moving your lymph along and you're helping your body detox. So I always say, gentle movement before bedtime can actually help things move around, making sure, and then you go to the bathroom before you go to bed, you've just eliminated some toxins. And then again, keeping the exercise light. You don't want to go and do CrossFit. That's the word I always forget. CrossFit is better off done at noon. And at night, you want something gentle, something, to ease the body in, Tai Chi, nice yoga, gentle stretching. Yeah, even just meditation and breathing. But yeah, moving your lymph system by physically moving your body is one of the ways that you help your body to detox and cleanse. Some other ways, hang on. There. That's the slide from that post that sparked a lot of conversation. A lot of my colleagues started talking to me about how long a bath is good. And so
yeah.
this
and
is,
Lori, before the bath, can we ask a really quick question? What about rebounding? Someone asked if rebounding is good for the lymphatic drainage.
yes.
Is that a trend or does it help?
Yes, completely. And I forgot, it's in my notes and I forgot to mention that we have one downstairs, and even just like 100 jumps a day, 50 jumps a day is amazing for you, especially if you move your arms as well, because not only that, but it also helps kind of like your intestines kind of juggle around softly and move. But yeah, no, rebounding is amazing for your body because it's a very gentle way for your whole body to move. Yes, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got to make that note bolder in my notes. But yeah, so detox bath, Epsom salt. It's funny because I literally put all my families on Epsom salt baths, and every time I say it, they go, oh yeah, my mother used to give us those baths. It's an oldie and a goodie. It's a really amazing way for your body to help. It pulls toxins from your body, and then it also infuses your body with magnesium sulfate. And magnesium is the main mineral that your body needs to relax. Magnesium is the thing that literally relaxes all your muscles. So I always say, start off with a half a cup for 15, 20 minutes and do this a few times, over the weeks, do it a few times and see if this alleviates your symptoms. And if it doesn't, then move to 30 minutes and maybe a full cup and see how that is. I'm finding that our soil is so deficient in magnesium. So the food is deficient in magnesium. So we are deficient in magnesium. And it's one of those things that like helps battle that, you know, that whole anxiety, that stress, that cortisol that happens. Magnesium just also helps the body calm down. So detox bath, one of those oldies and goodies. Personally, 30 minutes for me, it clears a headache. It helps ease constipation, and it gets rid of my my leg cramps. Those hormonal leg cramps that happen at night. Epsom salts take care of that. It's really great. So yeah, this is a way, because again, when I said that the body was, the skin is the largest organ of detox. This is how you detox your body, you pull out the toxins. So you want to help support your lymph system with this. And a few other tricks that I wrote down was green smoothies. So for those, if you like having your smoothies in the morning, note this: parsley, fresh parsley, and fresh cilantro. So I remember reading this, going whoop, and I added this to everything immediately. Parsley and cilantro, fresh, the leaf, are the two biggest herbs that help the body detox heavy metals. So that's why the supermarket I always find them. They always have them because they're just one of those staples, right? But knowing from my son had so many issues, and he was always high in heavy metals. We found that his detox symptom, or his detox system in the body, just wasn't working. So everything he was exposed to stayed inside his body. So we literally had to find many ways to help his body like detox all these heavy metals. And parsley and cilantro were one of those things. And you can get even liquid cilantro. I remember getting that concentrated, and I would put that in their smoothies or their juice. Something else you can do is, like, again, if you have a lot of symptoms, you've done the testing and you're high in heavy metals, you can even go to clay baths, right? That's another thing you do when you go away to Costa Rica or something, and you go to the shore and you do those, you rub clay all over your body and you sit in it. Literally, the clay pulls the toxins from your lymph system. They just bind and they just pull it out of your. So it's an amazing way, and you can do this at home. We have clay baths and we've been doing them for a while. There's also infrared saunas. Again, just helps you sweat and you get rid of the toxins that way, or ion therapy. That's what we've started doing for my son. So there's all kinds of little things that you can do to help the body detox and just pull out those toxins. And then you're like helping your body, or your glands, to be freer to produce that melatonin at night, if that makes sense. Because all these toxins can just get bind down in it and then just help cause, what do I call it? Interference. Just interference for the body to do its thing. Oh yeah, so stress management. How I said earlier, cortisol suppresses melatonin. You can't be stressed and sleep, because you just can't have them both being produced in your body. So find ways to unwind and let go of the day as you prepare for sleep. Even journaling. Sometimes I have this too. I notice that I always do to-do lists in my head. Like, I gotta do that, I gotta do that. Get it out of your head, put it on a notepad, put it in a journal, put it in a voicemail, or whatever you need to do, but anything to help you get it out of your mind and know that, okay, yeah, it's there. And then you can just let go, because that's what sleeping is about, right? Is letting go of the whole day and just going, and then easing into oblivion. So yeah, crafting, visualizing, breathing. I'm finding just like working with your hands is a form of meditation, right? Because you're so focused on what you're doing, just like yoga and getting into the pose, your mind is not capable of, chattering on like it normally does. And I always say, if you live near the forest, go for a forest walk after supper. After digestion, it really, really helps. It helps boost digestion, and then it helps, again, detox, because the air is just supercharged. Oh yes, and of course, meditation and breath work. I'm just now, like with Willow, I'm just starting to see the power of breath. exploring that with Katie has been phenomenal. And even just meditation, I've taught the boys how to meditate, just to sit in stillness and just breathe. Really helps calm the vagus nerve. It helps bring down the nervous system. So finding these little things that you can put into place in your bedtime routine, just to unwind, let go of the day, you know, watch the screen time, dim the lighting, all these things help your body boost that melatonin. One of my favorites, intermittent fasting. And I have to confess, I have been exploring this intensely with the shutdown. I don't eat until noon. Like, I have no appetite. I don't eat. So I'm going to explain what intermittent fasting does and why it's important to the body. Okay. So, and this is what I have to explain to my clients too, because it's like, if you're eating, okay, when you eat, digestion takes up all the organs in your body. So your body can't do anything else but digest what you've just eaten. It's got to assimilate the nutrients, you know, the gallbladder is working, the pancreas is working, the intestines are working, everything is working just on that food. When you sleep, you don't digest. So I'll say this again another way. It makes you think differently about eating right before you go to bed. Because if you eat right before you go to bed, your body can't digest in. Digestion turns off the minute you fall asleep. So what's in your stomach immediately gets stored as fat. That's the only thing that your body can do with it. So I always say, you know, that's the move, like my my hairdresser of all people, he literally, I remember I said it to him and he saw it on documentary and then he tried it because he was one of those, I'm going to eat, I snack all the way up until midnight, then I go to bed and I'm just like, oh my God. That's literally what his body would do. So he stopped that. He just started pulling it back. And you just do it little by little. You know, if you eat, maybe your last little snack is at 8 o'clock, just try and switch it up to 7. So trying to get it so that everything is digested in your stomach when you go to bed and you're relatively, you know, you're not going into digestion and fat storage mode. So basically what happens when you sleep, their body is doing all the things that it can't do during the day. And that is detox, process things for elimination, repair old cells, clean out dead cells, you know, grow muscles and bones for kids. This is all happening when you sleep, but it also happens when you fast. So when you're not eating, you're allowing your body to then detox and repair and generate new cells. So I always say, you know, challenge yourself to look at your eating habits and see, you know, the hours that you eat. Are you a grazer? Do you eat all day? Maybe try pulling it in, maybe try moving it, experiment, you know, move it to see if there's certain times of day or a meal size that works better for you. But basically, you know, the last meal that you eat before you go to bed, then you sleep, the body is doing its thing. And then when you wake up in the morning, I always say, you know what? Challenge yourself and see if you can wait an hour before you eat. And in that hour, drink a lot of water because what you're doing is you're also hydrating. Because sleep can be dehydrating because your body has used up all the water to detox. Drink a lot of water and then add lemon in that water. The lemon also helps support the liver. And stimulates the appetite. So I always say, you know, challenge yourself. See if you can start stretching those hours of your last meal to your first meal in the morning and let your body do its thing a little bit longer and see how you feel, right? So just like, you know, in the morning, wait a little hour. I'm like, I either juice or I do a fat elixir. So what I do is I drink. And I'm nursing that drink all the way till noon. And by noon, I'm ready to eat. And then now if I try to eat at 9 a.m., it just makes me nauseous. My stomach is not ready. So your body slowly adjusts. So I don't know why I've just started exploring that during this time of shutdown because we can. And I literally make a smoothie every morning and I don't eat until noon. I'm not hungry. So again, habit, right? The body just gets used to those habits. So the last thing that I say about this is if you're starving and you have to eat something before you go to bed, this is what you eat. And I'll tell you why. Pumpkin seeds, cherries, bananas. So if you have to eat something in a small little amount, you're starving and you got to eat that. Those three things are high in tryptophan. Oh, as well as turkey. So tryptophan is an amino acid, and that converts to melatonin. So there's a reason why after Thanksgiving dinner, when everyone is like gorged on turkey and everyone's like in a food coma and wants to nap because they've just eaten a whole whack load of tryptophan, the body is converting it to melatonin. So those are the things you can eat to help boost your melatonin before you go to sleep. And yeah, that's the last point that I had. But yeah, just little things that you can do. So I always get into supplement support because I mean, trying all these things may or may not work. Then there's other things that you can do if you really have strong symptoms or if you're really struggling with sleep, like I do. And we've tried these all. There's some wonderful tea blends that you can take. And I always show these to my families because there's so many children out there who are just anxious and constipated and can't sleep and can't focus. So this is a great way to make it part of bedtime routine is after like an hour after supper, you brew a tea. And these two herbal teas are a wonderful blend of chamomile, passion flower, orange blossom, and valerian. And all these herbs help relax the body. And yeah, they're really nice blends, and you can have them with the honey, whatever you prefer, but it's a good thing to add to your bedtime routine, especially for kids, for adults. And then further, so you can actually, I think, yeah, you can take tryptophan. You can pretty much find anything in a supplement these days. The Tranquil Sleep is a great blend as well. It's got tryptophan, it's got GABA, it's got 5-HTP. There's a lot of amino acids that the body needs to take to convert into melatonin. So there's a lot of different things that you can also look at to boost your melatonin before bed. So these both are they're chewables. And yeah, they're just an extra boost. I remember my boys would take these at exam time for school, like when they would have trouble sleeping because they were anxious about the exam. And the reason why chewables is better than a pill to swallow, I'll tell you the difference. When you swallow a pill, it has to go through your stomach acid, and then from there go into your small intestines, and then from there be absorbed through your bloodstream and travel on up. But when you have a chewable or a sublingual, like something that goes under your tongue, it bypasses your digestion and it goes right into the bloodstream. So I also say, like, again, I have a lot of parents who are like night waking and they can't go back to sleep. If you have these on your bedside table, so when you wake up in the middle of the night, like literally you can just like bite half of one, chew it, and that should help you ease back into sleep again. Then, like I was talking about the Epsom salt baths and magnesium deficiency, you can go for the supplement itself. You can take magnesium. There's so many forms that it comes in now. You can liquid, powder, chewable. You can add it to smoothies, cooking, baking. But if you find that you're really struggling with it, you can start putting more of this into your diet in this form if your body tolerates it. Personally, like this works for my sons, it doesn't work for me. Taking it orally, the baths work for me and the chewables work for me. But it's one of those, like, you start to experiment and find the things that work for you. And the other thing, oh yeah, and I also wanted to give you some foods that were high in magnesium as well to add into your diet if you were looking at natural ways of getting more magnesium. Avocados. I'm one of those, like, avocado should be a superfood. Like literally I'm avocado a day. Bananas. Again, there's a banana, nuts and seeds, and then greens. Those are all really high in magnesium. So if you add them to your diet, you're adding something that your body so needs. Like I was saying, when I talk to my families and some of the children go on doing Epsom salt baths, it can sometimes take weeks before they see an effect because your body is so deficient in it, right? It takes time to build it back up. And again, you can also go right to the hormone itself. and take melatonin. We did this when the boys were young because, well, I didn't know all these other things about the amino acids. We just went right to melatonin and we did the droppers, and literally it just takes a couple of drops and it helps them fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer. Yeah, it's gentle. The sublingual, same thing. Like they're very, very tiny. There's no taste. And if you need that extra boost. But yeah, and now they're starting to show, I'm seeing research, especially reading a lot of the things about the supplements that some folks are taking, you know, when they're battling COVID, and melatonin is actually one of them. It helps the brain detox when you sleep. And then of course, essential oils. My boys responded very well to anything natural. So we did a lot of herbs, oils, and homeopathics. So these two scents are shown to boost just the oil factory of your body responding to relaxation at night. And it's funny because my father, grandpa, swears by lavender. He is not the essential oil type at all. So one Christmas he gave us a diffuser and I'm like, what? Who is this person? He's like, no, lavender really helps me sleep. So Grandpa changed. He found the things that helped him out, just kind of tools for the toolbox. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, is all those little things that you can do. I think she's got a recording. If you guys want copies of my slides, no problem. But yeah, if you have any questions or if you want to dive deeper in anything, let me know.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Lori. Does anyone have any questions?
There we go.
This is Michelle. Thanks, Renee, for letting me join. And Lori, I kind of stand for everything that you brought up, and I've incorporated in my life for the last 3 years. And I can attest to adding magnesium and then drinking sleepy time tea or nighty night, and having like a bedtime routine as I'm going to go to bed at 10 o'clock and wind down, and then put the essential oils on, and no screen time has definitely helped kind of ease into that melatonin and cortisol chart that you've showed.
Wonderful. Thanks, Michelle.
Great. It's funny because sometimes it just takes a lot of, like, there's no one magic thing. It takes trying a lot of these different little things, just little adjustments that you take, and you'd be surprised, because I find that bodies just respond to the natural things more than anything else, right?
I agree.
Testing with my 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a great testimonial. Yeah. Oh my, no, we're a bit, but that. How about you, Renee? Was there any new takeaways from the last time you heard it? The detox bath was one.
Yeah, this is all really great reminders, but there are things where I'm like, oh yes, I have to go back to doing that, right? It's not just the sleepy time teas and the bath. There's so much more to incorporate. It looks like Hazel, you might have a question too, or a comment. Oh, I can't hear. Hazel, if you had a question or a comment for Lori.
You can always type it in.
No, thank you.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
I sleep like a log. Yeah.
Oh, you're so lucky.
Yes.
I envy that.
Thank
My
you.
husband puts his head down and he snores in 2 seconds, and it takes me
Mm.
almost an hour to fall asleep. One of those, like,
Woo.
it just, you consciously have to stop looking at the clock. But yeah, and I'm finding that these times, like, if I pay attention to the news and I hear, you know, something going on, it's that stress really, really affects me.
Yeah.
So I have to, like, block it, and just, my husband usually reads and censors and tells me only the most important things, because I'm extra sensitive to reading all that, and then my brain just goes at night. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what you're consuming, right? In here and in here, everywhere.
Yeah, like, for example, the second part of the shutdown, it affected me harder than the first. And I don't know if it's because it's in the middle of winter, but it was probably also because, like, I let the meditation practice slide. You know, again, a week can go by and I'd be like, oh my God, I didn't even meditate. making sure that, you know, I always have like a sticky up on my my bathroom mirror with all the little things, because it's hard to fit everything into every day, but just little things here and there. Experimenting while we can at home.
Yeah, thank you. And if anyone has any follow-up questions too, feel free to reach out. But yeah, thanks, Janet. Saw your comment. Really appreciate this, Lori.
Thank you for organizing. It was a great idea.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if anyone wants to have follow-up conversations with Lori, I can pass along her contact information if you need that again. But really, really love this. Thank you. And wishing everyone a really peaceful sleep ahead. And I realized we scheduled this for 7 p.m. It should have been before 6. As you said, then the early part, I'm like, oh no. But
that's okay. I've got my, again, there's other things you can do. I've got a memnizer. This grounds the body. Yeah, there's all kinds of little things that you can do. And knowing that I'm just gonna go and read and have quiet time. But no, thanks again. It was great seeing everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you. Namaste. Sleep tight, everyone.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks,
Thank
Lori.
you. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Okay, we're going to go brew some sleep time tea.
Good night.
Love you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, Jeanette, Nancy, Manon, Hazel, Basha. Who else we got? Leah, Michelle, Janet. Thank you, everyone.
Super nice, Renee. Thank you so much. It was very, very, very interesting and informative. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Off to
Thanks for being here.
Off to Epsom salt bath I go. I think I have something in the cabinet. So this is really, you know,
Excellent.
a good idea. Yeah. So very nice. Very well done.
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Basha.
Night,
Good night. Night.